So, as always, appreciate you guys coming out and the continued coverage of Penn State football. Obviously, looking forward to beginning my 12th year here at Penn State and 139th year overall as a football program this Saturday. Just left the stadium. Obviously, it's pretty cool all the work that's gone on to get West Shore home field at Beaver Stadium ready to welcome the fans back. I think, from inside the stadium looking up, it looks and feels a lot better probably than what I anticipated, considering we're in the middle of a stadium project. So I think that's a real positive. It's been impressive what they've been able to do. So excited about the environment that we'll have in the stadium. And then wanted to give a shout out to Gary Danielson, who will be here with CBS this Saturday. His 36th and final season. So pretty cool to be able to have him come back. And we're excited about the season. Obviously getting into Nevada and Coach Choate, who's done a nice job there. These games, I think for everybody in college football now, they're a little concerning. And what I mean by that is when you have 54 new players, it's hard to really have a good understanding and a feel of who you're going to play. This could be a team that could go on and have a phenomenal year. It's hard to really project when there's that amount of turnover. Obviously we see this across college football. We're not a huge transfer portal team, although we do go into the transfer portal and do what we need to do, but there's some programs out there. I saw something the other day, 84 new players in a program in 1 year. So it is crazy. So 54 players that we got to get familiar with, which is hard to do in a week one game. So when you talk about their offense, and David Gilbertson, comes from a football family. If you look at him, there's some crossover with our staff as well, and kind of the history of our Penn State football staff. Was at Akron with Coach Moorhead, and was at Oregon with Coach Moorhead. So there's some familiarity there and understanding of kind of how he was brought up, in the profession. Chubba Purdy, the quarterback, obviously a name that everybody's familiar with, a Nebraska and FSU transfer. At the quarterback position, and then wide receiver Marcus Bellin, who's a UTEP transfer. They're guys that we've heard and seen good things from. And then defensive coordinator Kane Ione, second year at Nevada. The head coach has got a defensive background, was at the University of Texas. Before that, these guys have some history together. At Montana State, Nevada, a number of places. Obviously was at Boise as well. We've been impressed with Stone Combs, number 33. Thomas Whitty, number 99, defensive tackle from Anchorage, Alaska. Defensive end, number 32, Dylan Labarbera, if I said that right, excuse me. DN, number 9, Jonathan Maldonado. And DB, number 5, Mervyn Kenyon is a transfer as well from Idaho and Sacramento State. And then on special teams, Parker Henry is the special teams coordinator. Again, they have history together. Had been at Portland State with my buddy Coach Barney over there at Portland State. But been impressed with their punt return number 18, Marcus Bellin, who's a UTEP transfer. Kick returner number 25, Kai Woods, who's a Texas transfer. That's kind of a fairly common theme. When Coach first got there, they brought a number of guys from Texas. And then also kick return number 7, Marquise Ashley. So still learning a lot. Obviously, we've done summer studies on these guys as well, but still learning a lot. Again, the 54 transfers, makes this more difficult early in the season. So opening up the questions.
We'll start with Zoom. Let's go to Rich Garcella, followed by Mark Woganrich. Rich?
All I see is Paul.
We'll go back to Rich. Let's try Mark.
Hey, James, how are you? I don't think I've ever been first. I appreciate it.
That's why we did it, Mark.
Thanks. I wanted to get your assessment of Devonte Ross so far in training camp. How has he looked? How has he progressed? And what do you think his role is going to be this week in offense?
Yeah, so he had some bumps and bruises this summer that we were dealing with that impacted how involved he could be late in the summer and then also early in training camp. But he's ready to go. We'll probably rotate him a little bit more just because he hasn't had the full training camp and he hasn't had the full summer. But he's ready to go and has looked really good the last week or so. So we're expecting good things out of him. But I think him and Liam Clifford will both rotate and both play significant reps.
Let's try Rich Garcella again. Guess he's not there. Okay.
Nope.
Let's go Mike Gross, followed by Frank Bodani.
Good afternoon, James. How are you?
Good, Mike. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. A couple weeks ago in practice, after practice, you said we got everything pretty much installed now, but we're making too many mental errors. We got to get those cleaned up and start refining things. So I wonder what sort of markers you've seen since then that indicate that you have gotten those things straightened out. I guess especially on defense where you're learning a new defense.
Yeah, to be honest, I think you could probably take that comment, that quote for probably 12 years. I mean, everybody goes through that during training camp. You put a ton of stuff in. That's magnified by what the other side of the ball is doing as well. Formations, motions, shifts, all those things. So yeah, I like where we're at, but I think there's also a difference in training camp when you're putting everything on their plate. And when you get into a game week, it's not like that. You narrow down the package of what you're going to do on defense. You narrow down the package of what you're going to do on offense and special teams. But also, it's a narrowed package of what you're going against. Again, depending on who you're playing. But a lot of teams you're going to play, and they're going to be primarily 11 personnel team and a one-back team, and that's what you're facing. And then same thing on defense. So both things, I think, help with that. You get into game week and you narrow what you're doing, and you try to narrow down what you think you're going to get from your opponent. But again, those things are a little challenging on week one. So I feel like we're in a good place, Mike. But I don't think that's a whole lot different than probably most years. And I guess to your point specifically about our defense. Year one, that's been the focus and the challenge is how do we streamline this process as much as we possibly can, put a ton on their plate, see how they handle it, and then kind of go into each week saying, okay, these are the things that we need to emphasize and these are the things we need to focus on to put our defense and our team in the best position to be successful.
Let's go to Frank Bodani, followed by Bob Flanders.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you, James?
Hey, Frank, how are you, man?
Real good, thanks. Drew Aller.
Frank, how often do you get your hair cut? Once a week, once every? Because I'm always impressed with your hair.
It goes in phases. I'm actually getting a haircut this end of this week.
But you didn't answer my question. How often do you normally get your hair cut?
About once every 5-6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I used to be every Thursday. Now it's every morning, 5 a.m.
Thank you for asking, though.
Yeah, you look good, sharp.
You look good as well. I appreciate that.
Question?
So, okay, what was I asked? Oh, Drew Aller. That's right. Okay. So, can you talk a little bit about his preseason camp? And I'm asking that in regards to in the spring you said Drew has to improve a little bit on everything. Okay. How do you see him at all as a different, improved quarterback now, say, from the end of last season, from spring practice? Is there anything specific? Is there even an anecdote or just kind of an image from preseason camp you can kind of point to or share with us to talk about his growth or his improvement recently?
Yeah, I guess I don't like the first quote you said, because those are the things that kind of, I'll say something and then all of a sudden that will be in the article or the headline says James Franklin that says that Drew Aller needs to improve in everything. I didn't think I said that. I think the question that I've gotten a lot is what specifically does Drew need to improve on to get better? And I said I don't think he's got one kind of glaring area of weakness. I think he needs to do what he's done over his time here at Penn State, which is get a little bit better in every area. So I think they're two very different statements in my mind. But yeah, I see him. His body has changed. He's more athletic. He's faster. He's more explosive. He's done that every single year since he's gotten here. Same thing from a leadership standpoint. He's gotten a stronger and stronger voice. And more comfortable doing that. I think most guys in year one, they don't necessarily come in doing that. They just want to focus on doing their jobs. I think that's a natural evolution. In terms of completion percentage and touchdown to interception ratio, he's been as good as anybody in the country in those areas, and really in Penn State's history. He's part of those arguments. So he's just kind of kept chipping away at it. I think a big thing for him and us this year is building the chemistry with the receiver and tight end group. So whether that is Khalil and Luke and Rapp, or whether that is the freshman wideouts that we just got on campus, or whether that's the year two guys, or whether that is obviously the transfers, at the wide receiver position that we brought in as well, building that chemistry. All those things I think have been really important, whether that's Pena, Hudson, Ross, or whatever it is. So that's kind of what I've seen. And then I think also year two with Andy, I think those things have allowed him to be more comfortable. We're putting a ton on his plate. I think his probably greatest superpower is just how football smart he is, especially when you talk about protections, being able to, readjust our protections and put our offensive line in the best position to allow us to get our running back out as often as possible to stress the defense. So I see him getting better in all those areas, and I think he took another step, but until we get out on the field and do it, it's just me talking about, the gains that I have seen in the off season and really over his 3 years. But it's not one specific area. It's a little bit in every area. And in terms of an anecdote that would show that, or illustrate that, I'm not sure if I have one. He's very steady Eddie. He's very steady Eddie in his approach. He's got a very workmanlike approach in the weight room, in the film room. One of the things that I do think is probably an interesting little piece for you guys is we got a number of guys, probably about 10 guys this year, and Drew's one of them. There's an NCAA rule that if you only need 9 credits to graduate, then you can be under full-time status. So if you only need 6 credits to graduate, you only need to take 2 classes. If you only need 3 credits to graduate, you only have to take 1 class, and that's fine from an NCAA rule. It's been that way for a long time. But Drew and a number of our guys are under full-time status. So I think Drew's got 1 class left to graduate at Penn State, so creates a really good situation for him in terms of being the best player he can possibly be and graduate from Penn State, because I think he's only in a situation where he only has to take 1 class, and we have a number of guys like that. So kind of explained that to the team the other day. Ideally, that's what they'd all like to do, right, is take enough classes each semester and in the summer to set their last fall on campus up where they're under full-time status. And this isn't the first time we've been in this situation, but I think that's one of the things I think was important to Drew and his summer schedule impacted that too.
Our last question from Zoom is Bob Flounders.
Bob can't hear you. You're muted. Could we unmute Bob? There he is.
Yeah, Kincaid was late muting me. Sorry about that, but it's definitely his fault.
How you doing, Bob?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
James,
Is that a new room or a new background?
It's an old room. I thought I'd change it up this year and see if you're paying attention to the background.
I'm paying attention.
There's a lot of sports memorabilia back there.
Pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool.
Okay. James, given the way your offensive line finished last year, given the guys you were able to retain and bring back, given the fact that you were able to add TJ in the portal, and you've always recruited pretty well in recent years with the offensive line, what are your expectations? What's the next step, you think, for this offensive line, if it can stay healthy? And also, how many guys do you think realistically at some point this year can help you on the offensive line? Because it does seem to be quite a deep group.
Yeah, so I think we got a number of guys that we're expecting big things from. When you talk about Shelton, Venga, Dawkins, Donko, Rucci, Cousins, and Shanahan, I would say right now, are the 7 guys that we view as starters. And then I think, to your point, there's another group of guys that I think we can win games with in the Big Ten. And I think there's some guys that are on the cusp that hopefully by game 4 or 5 we feel the same way. But I think we view us as having 7 starting offensive linemen where we'll probably use different packages to get those guys on the field, whether it's 6 offensive linemen or 7 offensive linemen. We'll do some things with those guys, as well as rotating them as much as we can to keep them fresh and healthy, but not too much that impacts chemistry of that group working together. That's always the challenge. But I think this group has a chance to be, one of the better groups in the country. And I think one of the better groups that Penn State has had. And Goon and the others have showed me the stats and things that they've been able to do here at Penn State when they were here in their careers. I think the one year, maybe that year with Goon, I think maybe they gave up 1 sack the entire year or 2 sacks the entire year or something like that. I don't know if that was 94 or whatever that year was. Is that right? Yeah. So there's a challenge there, right? But with the 2 running backs that we have and the quarterback, it puts those guys in a really good position to have successful years because it starts up front. And Trout's done a really good job, and Bill Q has done a really good job, as well as Andy Kotelnicki and his background with offensive line play and Ty Howell. But it's a group we take a lot of pride in. We've worked really hard to get to this point, and we expect them to play at a really high level. So I think you guys have heard me say, obviously, our focus is on, trying to be the best team that we possibly can be and maximizing that. And this unit, just like all the different units, I want them to approach it to be like, we're going to win because of the O-line. I want the D-line to say we're going to win because of the D-line, being the strength of our team and so on and so forth with all the different positions. But although it's about the team, maybe my favorite award in all of college football is the Joe Moore Award, because it's not really like an individual award, right? It's still a group award, which is pretty cool. And I think these guys have a chance to be a part of that conversation deep into the season.
Please raise your hand and we'll take a mic to you. We'll start over here on the right with Mark.
Hey, James, how you doing?
Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great. Can you take us through your green lights?
Are we gonna? I'm sorry, Mark. Can we try to get Rich one more time?
He said he's on. He texted me. He said he was
I
on.
see him now. I didn't see him before.
Rich, give it one more
Can
try.
we give Rich one more try? Feels weird not to have Rich. He's waving us off like he doesn't want to do it now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
I haven't done anything differently.
How can we
Okay.
start a press conference and not have Rich Scarcella on here?
Well, there'll be a day when you're going to have to do that, unfortunately.
Jeez, morbid.
Hey, have you decided on your backup quarterback yet, and why?
Actually, I wish we didn't go with Rich. Yeah, I think we're at that point. We are planning on sitting down with those guys today and have not had that conversation with them yet. So I'd like to do that first. But yeah, I feel like we're in that position. I don't think it is a clear cut, wide margin. So that'll, I think, will continue to be a battle all year long. And then I think we all have seen, whether it's at Penn State or other places, there's also times where those guys get in the game and play really well, or don't play as well as you would like. So this isn't. I wouldn't describe this as something that's completely decided. But we have decided for game one kind of where we're at, and we'll have that conversation today.
Mark?
Green lights at this point. Can you take us through the guys and what have they done to kind of earn it?
Yeah, I think, as you guys have heard me say before, it's about consistency, right? So there's a number of guys that I think could still end up being green lighted by game 4 or game 5 of the season. But the two that are green lighted right from the beginning is Chaz Coleman and Darius Dixon. Just two guys that have been very, very consistent physically, mentally, and emotionally. We got some guys that I think could play for us this year physically, but they've shown too much immaturity, or mentally have had too many, missed assignments and mistakes. So those things kind of have to continue to evolve. But there's other guys that could be in the green situation, after these first 3 games. That'll be part of the evaluation process. And we could have some of these yellow guys turn to green. We could have some of the red guys turn to yellow. We could even have some green guys turn to yellow. So that will not be kind of finalized until they've gotten to the point that they've played in enough games that it's been decided by NCAA rules at that point. So the two that we're approaching it that way is Chaz Coleman at defensive end and Darius Dixon at corner. And then another part that plays a big aspect of this is special teams. For you to burn your red shirt and take that approach from game 1, then you have to factor in on special teams as well. And some of these guys haven't taken that approach on special teams, and that's impacted on why they're maybe yellow or red too.
John?
Hey, James, how are you?
Hey, John. You are fresh right now.
Yeah, got a cut on Friday. I think
Yeah.
it was. Something like that.
First time you've had it cut?
About a year.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'll let it go sometimes.
Yeah.
We'll let it get shorter length. See how it is.
Impressive.
We talk about positions you've decided on. Have you chosen a starting safety next as a key yet? And how much do you plan on rotating at that spot early in the season?
Yeah, so right now, Belgrave Shorter is the starter, Cross, from Zaki. But those other 2 safeties, we plan on playing a lot. We feel like we got 4 safeties we can win with. Belgrave's probably a guy that, there wasn't a lot of conversations going on outside of the Lash building, but led us in interceptions and turnovers, this training camp. Been very, very consistent about how he's gone about his business. So he has earned that spot, but the other 2 guys will play a lot, and we need them to play a lot.
Neil?
Hey, James.
How you doing, Neil?
You're quoting Goon. That's a good omen.
You like that?
Yeah. Have you picked returnees for punt returns and kickoffs at this point?
Yeah. Right now, we'll at kick return we'll rotate Singleton and King Mac. We'll rotate those 2 guys, and at punt returner, we got a number of guys that we feel good about. Obviously Zion, Trevor Pena, and Devonte Ross, those three guys. We'll see how that goes. But I see all those guys getting touches and getting opportunities.
Audrey?
Oh, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Looking at your defensive ends, obviously we know a good bit about Denai, Zariah, Chaz Coleman. You've told us a lot about this preseason. How deep do you think that group maybe can be, and how many guys do you see maybe playing in games early on at least?
Yeah, I think it goes back to kind of what I've said to you guys in the past about, we really think you have to have a 3 deep at a minimum. You better have 5 at a 2 position unit. You talk about defensive end, two defensive ends on the field, so you better have 5. But we really feel like you should have 6, and we think we have that. Fisher and Coleman and Dennis Sutton and Harvey and Williams. And then the other guy that is kind of right on that bubble of green lighting that most likely will play in these first couple games as if he's going to play all year long, as Kamaju. He's really had a really good spring and then had a really good camp. So we feel like we got 6 guys. Mason Robinson is another guy that we're very, very high on. But Mason has had a number of bumps and bruises that have really impacted his ability and time to compete. So getting him back, with us kind of full time and over a period of practices, just hasn't practiced consistently enough to be a part of that group. But he's a guy that when he has practiced, we've been very high on. So that would give us 7 guys that we feel good about. Fish is still kind of working through, coming back from his injury. So that would give us 7 guys that we feel like we can play with. And then just depending on some of them freshmen, their development and some bumps and bruises, depending on whether we have 5 or 6 going into each game that we feel like are ready to contribute and help us play. So we're young there, but we feel like there's a lot of talent in that room, and obviously these first 3 games are going to be really important.